All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and start because your time is very valuable and we know this. So hopefully some more folks will be joining us. And I'm going to go over a few housekeeping mentions. So maybe as we're doing that, more people will join us. So thank you again so much for being a part of this call tonight. A couple of things. This is recorded so we can share it on YouTube with those who are not able to attend. Everyone is automatically muted. We ask that you stay muted, and this helps us cut down on the background noise so that everybody can have a wonderful experience hearing. There is a chat box. If you take your mouse and you hover on the bottom of your screen, some icons will pop up. Feel free to say hello, introduce yourself, where you're calling in from in Florida. Please definitely, this is your space. This is your time to connect with others. There's also an icon for a Q&A box. If you have any questions at any time during this presentation, please post them in the Q&A box. Sometimes with so many people on these calls, if we start using the chat box to have discussions, it's really challenging for us to keep track of those questions and make sure that your questions are asked. So please use the Q&A and we will get at the end of the presentation to a question time and make sure that that's taken care of. And for the folks on the phone, you will receive an email tomorrow with the recording of this so you can see everything that we're talking about today. We do anticipate this lasting approximately 30 minutes, depending on how many questions we have here. So I'm Sarah Gledhill. I may be familiar. I saw some familiar folks dialing in here. I'm the Senior Florida Field Campaigner for the Center for Biological Diversity. Also, if you have been engaged with us on any other campaign, receive text, receive emails, receive a packet for petitions, you sent your signed petitions in. There is a lot going on behind the scenes with our distributed team, and they do a lot. And we're actually joined here today with Fabiola Delgado. She's based in Tucson, and she graciously is giving her time this afternoon to run tech for us, so we don't have any hiccups along the way. So as I mentioned, Fabi and I are the grassroots organizing arm of the center. By organizing our mentors, we continue to strengthen the center's existing legal, scientific, political, and existing outreach work. Our show of grassroots force adds fuel, reach, and people power to the center's existing campaigns. And when we work together, we end up mobilizing and organizing together to take political action and build grassroots power. We then empower people to become agents of change for their planet and their home. Then we connect you with other activists in your community, your state, and across the country. And that's why we recommended you guys to start chatting, so maybe we can start drawing connections with each other on this call today, and you might have somebody in the same community as you. So why are we here? Your time is very valuable to us, and we know that you have traffic to battle. You might have another job to get to. You have families to tend to, but you prioritize this call for us and for you and for the state of Florida. Why? So let's take a moment and go into the chat function at the bottom of the screen and chat, what do you love most about Florida? And I'm going to give us maybe 30 seconds to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to try to watch it as well. Let's see. We got Donna from Lakeland, Florida. Go ahead. Anybody want to go ahead and post beaches, springs, wildlife, cypress trees. I love cypress trees and especially their knees. Native Florida. Catherine, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Everything besides the weather and humidity. Well, the weather and humidity is great in winter, I think. We'll love the wildlife, but not the climate. Definitely not the climate crisis that Florida's in, and we are certainly front lines. Anole lizards and all our little critters from Miami. The Keys, yes, fun. Well, thanks so much for doing that. And that's one of the things that the Save It, Don't Pave It campaign is about, protecting all those things. Everything that you mentioned that you love about Florida and those features is what Save It, Don't Pave It campaign is all about. It's here to save Florida from being paved over from this. This is the these are the three new major toll roads that are proposed to run through our state. Somebody mentioned the Keys. We don't see the Keys on the map, but let's not forget about water quality and what a road will do when it runs through the Everglades and diverts water into different ways and further pulls pollutants down into the Keys. So earlier this year, Senator Galvano, this seems to be his pet project. Bill, I saw you dialing in, you're attending, and I know you're in his district. With the help of the state legislature and Governor DeSantis, they greased through this horrible law to construct 3 new regional corridors that will fund and construct these roads through Florida's natural environment, and then leaving rural communities with a new future, urban sprawl. The special interest groups supporting the roads are groups like the Florida Chamber, the Florida Ports Council, the Road Builders Association, and let's not forget about the billionaire Thomas Petterfee, who lives up in the northern section of the Suncoast Connector. And if you can follow along with my mouse real quick, I'll outline the northern corridor is the Suncoast Connector. And you can see all of this green area, which is our critical lands that our native wildlife need to be able to migrate and have sustainable populations. And you can see that it comes from Citrus County, runs up through our amazing spring country, all the way up to the Georgia state line. We also have the Northern Turnpike Connector that you see here that overlaps a little bit with the Suncoast Connector. But this is something really interesting. This is the green swamp area, something that us as Floridians really, really enjoy. We said cypress knees. This is like cypress knee Mecca. There's no way to avoid these areas. And we know that once we impact it, once we destroy it, we will never get it back. And then we have the Southwest Central Connector, which you see in this large area that starts in the Everglades, Collier County, and runs all the way up to Lakeland, Polk County. So these projects represent 330 miles of roadway construction and the direct destruction of 52,800 acres of natural Florida. And let's not take into consideration all the urban sprawl and the strip malls that will then follow it, because once you build it, they all start coming. So we do have organized opposition, and it is growing. The center, along with our partners, are building the No Roads to Ruin Coalition. If you attended the first task force meeting, or if you received the emails from any of other organizations, you've seen this logo that represents the coalition. And we've been busy gathering the resources, and we're gathering the information. And that's what this coalition is about. But there's a critical piece that we need, and that's people. And we need people to be able to build power, and that's where you come in. So I wanted to real quick read some headlines out of Florida's newspapers over the last few months. Toll roads, cards stacked against the environment, from the Gainesville Sun. Planned roads could imperil Florida's panthers in last remaining wilderness, from the National Geographic. Florida's biggest toll road work since the 1950s under scrutiny at hearing, Sarasota Herald. It's amazing that we're in a climate crisis and we're interested in building one of the state's biggest fossil fuel infrastructure projects since the 1950s. Legislature wants to pave paradise, put up toll roads, Florida Times-Union. Nature of things, toll road task force are a sham, Lakeland Ledger. Florida's toll road projects lack big support except from road builders. So the media is picking up on this, and they're realizing that this massive project, if we don't do anything about it, is really going to leave us with nothing. So, but we're here. You have dialed in today. We are talking today, and we are here to fight back against this toll road sham. And with your help, we are going to resist with massive, massive grassroots pressure to stop the toll roads and protect Florida's future. So here are the campaign goals for Save It, Don't Pave It. And the main goal here, or the long-term goal, is stop the toll road process dead in its tracks. So this is the end goal as we're having every discussion, every strategy talk, everything we do from this point forward, this goal will guide us. But to get there, we need a short-term goal to help us build momentum towards our end goal. And that's our short-term goal here. And that's to move targets to oppose the toll roads with us. And you're probably like, what's a target? And targets are a person, a business, a local government of influence or power, somebody who can have influence, and that's direct influence over the task force or influence over media to get us more attention. So those are going to be some of the discussions that we're going to be having throughout this campaign and in the next 4 months. So how are we going to accomplish these goals? We are going to show up at every meeting to oppose the toll roads in full force. 2, we're going to make it so uncomfortable for every person who supports the toll roads, or even those that are sitting on the task force as lame ducks, like deer in headlights. We're going to make them very uncomfortable for sitting there and not speaking out against this. We're going to continue to build grassroots pressure. We're going to feed the media by getting information to them and writing LTEs. And I want you all to know that we did an LTE ask back in July, I believe it was, and we had about 34 LTEs submitted, which is great. And even if your LTE, I believe Catherine's on here, if your LTE wasn't printed, it's okay. Because when an LTE gets submitted and the editorial board sees this influx of people interested in an issue, they know it's a big issue. They're going to start covering it and giving it more attention and turning on the lights so that the roaches start scattering. So please keep up that effort, and please don't ever get discouraged if your LTE doesn't get published, because it does make a difference. Amplify our message via social media. So you're going to be getting events through email. You might be on social media and you're reading about some of these headlines and digging into these stories as they're starting to see who's benefiting from the roads and who's left holding an empty bag. Share that information on social media. The more people talking about it means more people see it. And the more people become empowered to take action. It's almost like this peer pressure effect, because they know that other people are paying attention. So we need you to also help us amplify the social media conversation. So real quick, this is not fun at all. This is the state's FDOT timeline. As you can see, the task force meetings started in August. They go until September 2020. And they did have that first kickoff meeting in Tampa in August. And to say that it was chaotic or poorly planned is an understatement. And I'm not going to get into the weeds here. I would be more than happy to have sidebar conversations with anybody who would like to, but the process is a sham. The papers are right. This is a public charade. And interestingly, somebody told me, a very wise person said, you can be invited to the dinner table and they can set the table and make it look all nice and make it feel warm and welcoming, but you don't have to sit at the table. And that's what we're not going to do with this campaign. We are not going to play into attending open houses and asking them to consider this data set or this data set. What we're going to do is not sit at the table and oppose it straight up. As you can see, the task force meetings, they meet every other month approximately until September 2020. October 2020, a task force report will be made available. So in a very short 18-month turnaround time, they're going to know how these roads are going to be constructed. And then construction is set for December 2022. But we're not going to sit at the table, and this is how we're not going to do it. So this organizing timeline doesn't take us all the way through till the very end. We're going to chunk it up into groups. And so this is our plan for the next 4 months. Next week is the next round of state meetings that start. And we need everybody to turn out, as many people as possible, to show our opposition at these task force meetings. And that's in October. Come November, December, after Halloween, we are going to reach out and ask you to attend local meetups to talk about ways that we can amplify our opposition at the public workshops. And yes, it scares me to see that we have Halloween, Thanksgiving, the Christmas holidays, and then New Year's, but that's by design. We see it all the time that they create these discussions over the holidays when everybody's busy or traveling, but that's what it is. That's what we have to work with, and we're not going to let that stop us, because we need to be ready come late January, early February. And I'm wishy-washy on the date because they have not set the public workshop dates, but they will have public workshops arranged, and we need to be ready for that. And grassroots pressure doesn't grow overnight. Me sending one email or having one webinar with you is not going to have this massive explosion. It takes time to cultivate and build the pressure. And so the center has prioritized this along with our coalition partners. So we will be with you every step of the way until these public workshops. And when it's showtime, we are going to be standing next to you, shoulder to shoulder with you. So are we ready? This is where we're going to mobilize and organize. So many of you have probably seen this map. If not, this is the center's map events or events map that we have, which is a great tool. Throughout this campaign, you will receive emails and texts to attend events that are represented on this map. So you can see the upcoming task force meetings represented on 2 of the dots there. And tomorrow, this starts. You're going to receive a follow-up email from me with the recording, but it's also going to have a link to this map for you to RSVP for your task force meeting. And when you go into RSVP, yes, you will attend. So we're going to be showing up, folks. You're going to see this sign-up page. And this is where we get an opportunity to share this on social media. We have the opportunity to recruit from our networks and bring our friends and our families. So you can see the Facebook link. There's a Twitter link for you to share. You can also just easily grab the URL that's up there and send it in an email. I know a lot of you have large email lists that you can easily do this. So, certainly take advantage of that. But that's so right there with this one ask of showing up and sharing, we're already starting to chip away at how we're going to win with this next round of task force meetings. So real quick, Fabi's going to help us with launching a poll, and I would love for y'all to take, we'll sort of watch to see what the percentage of everybody taking it is. Will you attend a task force meeting and help bring 5 friends or recruit 5 friends from your network? And I might start dancing until everybody's able to say yes, they will bring friends. So we're at 40% right now of you have voted, and it's climbing. And I'll start bringing out the top hat from my money bags costume when we protested in Gainesville. 52%, so half of you are there. We might have some folks who are on the phone, and that's okay. Just as long as you're not driving. All right, so we've got this poll for a minute that we've been running. So we'll go ahead and Fabiola, if you could just end the poll. And it looks like 33% are definitely in to attend, and 67% no, we can't, but we will share it with your friends. And I do know some of you are not near these meetings, and it is disheartening to see that they, by design, create them and put them in a very rural area where the populations are not at. But then again, that's also where the roads are going to go. So have no fear. There are other ways for you to get involved with this campaign. And Fabiola is going to launch one more poll. And go ahead, and these are other ways that you can help the campaign. Maybe you don't have the ability to get to a meeting, or you're too far away, or you work during the day, which is a really realistic reason not to be able to make these task force meetings that are 4 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning. Go ahead and multiple choice. Feel free to check every single one, because then we know you're really into this. And we'll probably give this about a minute, at least so that we have the same percentage of folks voting. About 20 more seconds. All right, all right, now we're almost there to the same percentage. Okay, great. All right, Fabiola, that's the same percentage. Oh, we're getting some more. It's okay. Great. So, you know, this is wonderful. A number of you enjoy and would like to submit a letter to the editor, and that is so valuable for us to keep the pressure on, because the decision makers in Tallahassee read their local papers. So even if they're in session throughout the spring, right now they're in committee meetings, they pick it up and they read what the letters to the editors are to gauge what their constituents are talking about. So really appreciate it. We have some petition signatures that folks will gather, and attending task force meeting, and then of course attending a local meetup. All right, so we're at 23 minutes. And this is really your space. This is your time. Hopefully, I'm going to go into see if there's been any questions. And please, you know, use the Q&A box. This is your time to ask anything, and I will try my hardest to answer it. And if I can't answer it right away, I'll follow up with you. But we do have a question from somebody. I live in West Palm Beach. What can we do remotely? And I think that's a great question, because these corridors, all of the meetings are going to be on the west coast of Florida. So those examples of LTEs, you can still, interestingly, you know, your decision makers are going to be talking about this session and funding these projects. So you can still do local lobbying with your state representative and senators. So there are a lot of opportunities for you to engage remotely. And of course, you know, if there's a meetup that happens there, you know, we can make that happen, and we can make it constructive time for you. So definitely stay engaged, and there are opportunities, even if you're not on the Gulf Coast. Isn't there any kind of environmental review? Yes, there is. This sort of, we'll try not to get too much in the weeds. So there is an environmental review. However, because this is a toll road, they will not be using federal funding. Therefore, it does not trigger the 4F guidelines, which would be the federal review process. And that's how the toll roads and toll road authorities throughout the state of Florida are circumventing a higher level of scrutiny when it comes to environmental review. Now, our state agencies will be doing environmental review, but we all know, we're watching Florida, having a death by 1,000 cuts every day because of state agencies. So we don't want it to get to the review process, though. Let me be clear of that. We want to stop this dead in the tracks so that decision makers realize, you know what, we really shouldn't have passed this. We need to repeal it. So that's, let's make sure that we have that point. Can you supply a template for my letter to the editor? Definitely. If you're ready to do an LTE now, we can work on that this week. We will do calls to action coming up, especially in light of the next round of task force meetings happening, and knowing that this is a sham and that the task force members are these bobbing heads sitting around. So we can definitely do that. Will the campaign provide sample petitions? Yes, we actually do have petitions in draft. If that's something you are interested in, I can definitely work with you to have sample petitions. Next question, can the state use eminent domain to seize property and conservation lands to build roads? I am not an attorney. However, eminent domain has been used in the past by the Florida Department of Transportation, by the toll expressway, and by the Toll Roads Authority in the past. They do have eminent domain abilities, so I'm certainly not going to throw that off the table and think that they could not only seize private property, but also seize conservation lands that we use public dollars to acquire and protect. Next question, will follow-up emails give any writing tips on letter to the editor? Yes, we will definitely do that. I'm going to make a note that you guys are definitely interested in that, making sure you have it. Next question, I know meetings do much for keeping us together, but can we focus on actions that don't burn gas, please? Yes, definitely. And that's why we're encouraging, we can do local meetups so you're not traveling far distances and staying within your community. We can also use webinars as a tool to connect you all so that we aren't burning gas and adding to the climate crisis with fossil fuels. So, let's work on that. Let's plan it out. And that's definitely an option. Last question so far. Do you have materials for use with local citizen meetings? Yes, we do. I'm delighted to hear that. We do have fact sheets for the Save It, Don't Pave It campaign, as well as petitions. There are also, the coalition is putting together fact sheets as well. And like I said, we are working with a coalition of other organizations. So, depending on what the local citizen meetings needs are, we will make sure that you have the materials. And specifically, who are the decision makers? So that's a great question. At the first kickoff meeting in August in Tampa, it was very clear to all the task force members that really they're not picking a line on the map. They're there to develop principles and guidelines for the corridors, but really they're not the ultimate decision makers. And we believe that this is definitely driven by special interest who know exactly where the line is gonna go. And we know that they're gonna make sure that that line goes where they're gonna profit the most and gain the most, which ends up leaving the environment losing in the end. So decision makers, in terms of who is a decision maker that can actually stop this in the tracks, are going to be our state legislature and Governor DeSantis. If we put enough pressure and turn the heat up, we can do this to make them go, all right, wait a minute, this wasn't really the wisest idea. And it's been done in the past. The Florida Barge Canal is a perfect example of a special interest public infrastructure project that cut right through the state of Florida. And finally, they realized, you know what, this is really not a good idea because the environmentalists in the state were up in arms over it, and they pulled the funding and the project stopped. So we can do this. So it's no build, no regrets. Are the previously shown meetings the only ones planned? The previously shown meetings, the only ones. If somebody can chat a clarification to that, we'll definitely try to answer that. And until then, the next question, do you have any numbers for cost of toll roads versus cost of making necessary infrastructure upgrades needed to address climate change? No, off the top of my head, we do not have the numbers for that. We'll keep track of this question and make sure that you get the information. We do know that the cost of these toll roads to construct them will take away from existing programs that already have necessary infrastructure upgrade needs to address climate change. So we do know that this is going to rob one pot of really needed dollars to be able to fuel this, which will only exacerbate the climate change problem. Can the roads be challenged legally or file suit now? I'm not an attorney, so I know that there are reviews being looked at it. There are permitting issues that will come up. So that is a possibility, but the goal is to stop it in its tracks before it even gets to that point. Like, that is our job, is to make this Florida's #1 issues. We got elections coming up, and let's get these people who are running for seats that are going to make decisions for us to make statements about the toll roads. So we want to prevent it from even getting to that point and stop it now. So any other questions? You guys are great. This was fun. It's always good. It's like you're not the teacher that's sitting up there and nobody has any questions. So thank you for the deep dive. Fabiola, are there any other questions coming in? Ooh. All right, we do have. I was wondering if there were any more of the task force meetings planned in any other areas. Great question. We do not have all of the information. FDOT, the Florida Department of Transportation, I think is figuring it out as they go, which is really not helpful for the public to plan. There will be another round of task force meetings in December. Marion County, Taylor County, and Collier County, but date, time, location to be precise, we don't have that information yet, and it's not available on their website. So we will be keeping you up to date as soon as we know more. So, all right, with that, I just wanted to say thank you so much. We are going to shut down these toll roads. Fabiola, can you take everybody off mute real quick? If that's possible with like one click, or do we have to go through everybody? All right, it's all right, because I'll do it with you. I will know that you are doing it with me in solidarity. All right, I see you all piping in. All right, I'm gonna ask you all a question, and I want you to answer it, and I know how you're gonna answer it. Are we ready to protect Florida from being paved over? Yes.
We're ready.
Yes, we are ready. We are ready to go. Yes. So again, thank you so much. Absolutely. Yes. You know, the great thing, y'all, we can take these models to shut down these toll roads, and we can take the same campaign models, the planning models to organize, and we can continue to use it on other projects. So thank you so much for your time this evening. And I will see you all next time. Thank you.